All-Star Weekend is getting closer and closer. Tune into ESPN for the T-Mobile Home Run Derby Bracket Show on July 10th at 7 Eastern. We've got the HBCU Swingman Classic on July 11th here on MLB Network. On the 12th, it's the All-Star Futures Game. Then on Sunday, July 13th, we've got the MLB Draft presented by Nike. The All-Star festivities wrap up on the 14th and 15th with the T-Mobile Home Run Derby, MLB All-Star Red Carpet Show presented by Deer Park, and finally, MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard. And we have those rosters that were released, starting with the American League. The Tigers and Mariners sending 4 players apiece to Atlanta. And as we take a look at the position players, some notable returners include Riley Green, Bobby Witt Jr. There's also 11 players on the American League roster that are 26 years or younger. Sean Casey, as we take a look now at some of the other notables here, what stands out to you?
Wow. You know, I love looking at first-timers. You know, when you talk about some of the guys that are out there, first-timers, Jacob Wilson, such a good player out there with the A's. Jonathan Aranda, I'm glad he made it. He could flat-out rake out there for the Rays. Hunter Brown, Brian Wu. I mean, you love seeing first-timers there. When you go to your first All-Star game, it's something you'll never forget. And, caution to the guys that are first-timers. I remember my first time going to an All-Star game, you think you're going to be back there every year. And then when you don't go back when you finally get the chance to go back again, you're like, wow, you appreciate the second one. So what I would say was appreciate this first one, because it's an incredible experience to be with some of the best players in the world and just enjoying being in that clubhouse, going through the Derby, being at the All-Star game. It's an experience they'll never forget for the rest of their life.
3-time All-Star, Sean Casey. 1999 was your first one.
99 was my first one.
I think I was a few years.
Yeah. Yeah, you were yeah.
Well, what about some surprises? Is there anybody that we saw there that you would have, you were surprised to see, and then on the flip side, like anyone you would have liked to see? I mean,
not so many guys I was surprised to see, but one of the guys, George Springer's having such a nice year out there in Toronto. Junior Caminero out there with the Rays is swinging the bat well too. So there's always guys that are going to just miss. You know what I mean? Always guys that are going to just miss. But seeing Cal Raleigh behind the dish, what he's doing this season, I think it's just so great for baseball. And there's Alejandro Kirk, who's his backstop in Toronto. I love the way he plays the game too. So there's so many great players, and nothing like the Midsummer Classic.
And we talked about the youth, right? Like, what does that just say about where the league's at right now?
I think the league's in a great spot. I mean, they're bringing guys up quicker than ever now in the big leagues. I mean, these guys are getting drafted. They're going to high A, double A, triple A. Next thing you know, a lot of these guys are learning in the big leagues. So it's fun to see these young kids coming up and how healthy the game of baseball is.
Everyone's waiting for us to mention Tarek Skubal. We're going to dive into that. But as we take a look at the National League All-Star rosters, it should be no surprise that the Dodgers are sending an MLB best 5 players to the All-Star game in Atlanta. The NL squad also features several young players: Pete Crow Armstrong, Ellie De La Cruz, James Wood, and Paul Skeens. They headline a group of 10 players who are 26 or younger. Wood is the youngest player on either team at 22. And Casey, we talked about the youth earlier when we broke out the AL rosters, but the 37-year-old Clayton Kershaw will be making his 11th appearance at the All-Star game. He was named by the commissioner as a legend pick. So this is a really special moment for Kershaw. The last time this happened was 2022, and you were actually a part of something.
Yeah, well, first off, with Clayton Kershaw, this is exciting for all of us. I mean, who doesn't want to see Clayton Kershaw back at the All-Star game with some of the best? We just saw him get his 3,000th strikeout. We may never see that again in Major League Baseball history. That was so impressive. The career that he's had, all with the Dodgers, to see him again, at the All-Star game is going to be something that we all want to see. It makes me think back to 2001 when I was at the All-Star game in Seattle, when Cal Ripken and Tony Gwynn were there, kind of like their swan songs. And I can only think back to when Cal Ripken ended up homering in the game and being the MVP in that game. And you think about his career and how legendary it was, and then having the chance to watch Gwynn and Ripken in that game. And hopefully we get a chance to see maybe Clayton Kershaw do something and get out there and punch a couple more guys out in the All-Star game and just add to his legacy.
No doubt. As we take a look at the rest of the lineup here. So we mentioned this earlier with the American League, but is there somebody on here, a couple players that you would have liked to see?
Well, there's a couple guys, obviously I love to see some of the guys like Pete Alonso back in the mix, having the year he's having. The young players that you talked about, Ellie De La Cruz and Pete Crow Armstrong and James Wood being in there. That guy's an absolute superstar. Corbin Carroll being back. The couple guys, though, that I look at, Michael Busch over there with the Cubs. He's having a monster year, almost 20 home runs, driving in a lot of runs, almost hitting 300, and Suzuki. I mean, Suzuki's leading the league in RBIs. I mean, he's been putting up some huge numbers. So it just goes to show you how deep the Cubs are, because they already have Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong, who is in the MVP race right now. But to not have those guys there too, there's always some snubs, and I think those guys, got snubbed a little bit.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see LA De La Cruz. I love watching him. And I get to see him in person because I've never seen him play before in person.
Yeah, so fun.
He's one of my favorites. I'm looking forward to.
To jump late in the strike zone.
Among the first-time All-Star starters in the National League, Matthew Boyd, Mackenzie Gore, the outstanding young left-hander in Washington, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, better than 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Ex-future Hall of Famers among the group, not to mention the most dominant right-handed pitcher in the game. And again, you seem to think Paul Skeens is the easy choice to start.
Yeah, I just you think about one guy that has some of the most electric stuff in the game right now. And Paul Skeens is one of those guys that gives you length. He has the ability to strike guys out, but also understands how to get weak contact. He's also introduced new pitches as a cutter into his game as well. This is the splinker that's normally he goes to with 2 strikes, but now he's become a pitcher that's so much more polished that we even saw at LSU. He makes it look easy out there, Kevin.
And a reminder, you can see Matthew Boyd and the Chicago Cubs in action, part of our Sunday Night Baseball doubleheader tonight, Cubs and Cardinals from Wrigley Field. Those are the starters. How about you get Lindor and Ellie as part of that infield there, which is just absolutely electric. But I want to circle back to Pete Alonso, who, if not for Ohtani, may be the NL MVP.
Absolutely. I think about the way that he started this season, and I had conversations with Pete Alonso, too. Poolside, he is on everything, Kevin, and it's fun to watch him right now because he's one of those guys that is not missing any of those mistakes in the middle of the zone.
Again, better than 73 runs batted in on the season for Alonso, having a monster year. All right, we get through the infield reserves. Let's get to the double group of left-handers between Crochet and Fried and Kikuchi and Skubal. Who has to be the starter?
I mean, he has to be. He's the best one of the group. And, Kevin, when I think about how well the Detroit Tigers have played, the main reason is because you have somebody at the top of the rotation that goes out there and sets the tone. It's everybody else feeds off of that. It's almost an automatic win every time he goes out. We've seen him finish games with over 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but what makes it tough for a hitter is the changeup. He throws 31% of the time, more than the four-seam fastball. So I've got to get ready with so many different pitches, and he does it in so many locations in the zone. Nobody wants to face that.
He was great again on Sunday. We'll show you that coming up in baseball tonight in our second half hour. By the way, Corbin Burns started the game last year. Skubal could have started last year. He will start this year. There's a ton of experience among the 18 home runs, the most among primary ALDHs, but quite a luxury for Aaron Boone to be able to replace Jacob Wilson and Jose Ramirez with Bobby Witt Jr. and Alex Bregman.
Yeah, really fun to see because those guys obviously deserve those opportunities. They came in starting off the season very hot. They're one of the reasons why, especially when you think about Bobby Witt Jr., the team evolves around him. Alex Bregman, they continually going to need him down the stretch no matter what Boston does. Two extremely versatile hitters, but also very powerful as well.
And, of course, Boston hopes to get him back. Aaron Boone hopes to get him back for the All-Star game here a week from Tuesday. Quan is so steady. J-Rod obviously gives you a little bit of everything. But you can make a very good case. Buxton should be starting in the outfield.
Absolutely, just because of the production that he's had. When you think about when this team really struggled offensively, it was Byron Buxton that was the most consistent piece. And I love his awareness of his pitch selection, getting pitches up in the zone. He's going to take his chances. And I think that's what's provided a little bit more power this year. And obviously he's been healthy. That's the main focus for Byron Buxton.
There's a hope that maybe he's a part of the home run derby as well, which that's filling up. There's a ton of great names in that as well. All right, we continue on here by taking a look at the first-time All-Stars, brought to you by Meineke. 9 first-timers in the American League, including starters Cal Raleigh, Jacob Wilson, and Ryan O'Hearn. There are 10 first-timers in the National League, Pete Crow Armstrong among them for the first place Chicago Cubs. And we talked about this Wednesday when we went through the starters.
Yeah.
The new blood part of this All-Star game, a lot of big-time names.
It tells you where the game is at, right? Because it's so athletic at this point. And one of the main guys I think of is Pete Crow Armstrong, who can do so many different things on the field. But also think about a guy like Jacob Wilson, right, who is an old-school type of player. All he does is hit. He's not going to strike out. He's not even looking for the walk. If something's there, something's close, he's banging it. And I love that part of his game because you get to see a little bit of that old school with some of that new school in a PCA and a lot of the the athletes that are on this team.
And we had a chance to talk to him on Wednesday. Just how genuine his reaction was really cool to see that he's going to be a starter for the National League. It's always so much fun to pick all-stars.
Yeah.
But it's almost even more fun to talk about the all-snubby team. Give me some guys that are not a part of the game for now that should be a part of it.
Well, I look at Seiya Suzuki, 24